It is not the events that wound you, but how you choose to meet them. So said Epictetus. Have you ever felt your mind racing, speaking more than intended, chasing everything but what truly matters, in a world drowned in noise, where hasty opinions are mistaken for strength and impulsive reactions pass for wisdom? Many men have lost their way. They are weary, disordered, and severed from their inner strength. Yet the Stoic philosophers offered a timeless remedy. True power lies not in doing more, but in doing better, not in shouting louder, but in knowing when to hold silence, not in ceaseless thinking, but in guiding thoughts with purpose. In this video, you will uncover how Stoic philosophy, crafted for men, restores focus, sharpens the mind, and fosters purposeful action. You'll learn to master what lies within your power, tame the inner voice, and build a presence that speaks louder than words, even in silence. If distractions have ever overwhelmed you, I know you are not alone. Today can mark the dawn of rediscovering yourself. Join me, for when you think less, speak less, and focus more, the world no longer sways you. You command it. Press like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay on this quiet yet mighty journey of transformation. First, your thoughts are not the truth. A single notion can ruin your day. A silent whisper creeps in like a shadow. I am not enough. Nothing will change. What if it all goes wrong before you know it? You live as if those words were etched in stone, but they are not. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus taught that events do not harm us, our judgments of them do. Have you ever mistaken a fleeting thought for reality? How often have you let an unchallenged idea hold you captive? Picture yourself at a train station. Each thought is a train passing by. Some carry regret, others anger, some fear. Yet you need not board every train. You can stand and watch them pass. You can breathe deeply. You can remain on the platform. This simple act of observing without reacting, a daily Stoic practice, is your sharpest weapon against the chaos of the mind. When you chase every thought, you lose control. But by stepping back to observe, thoughts lose their grip. They fade like mist. I recall a late-night talk with a colleague, a leader revered for his calm. He confessed that each morning, a knot of anxiety gripped him, not from the world, but from the whispers in his mind upon waking. You haven't done enough. You're failing. For years, he lived as if those thoughts were a final verdict. Then he found Marcus Aurelius, and everything shifted. He learned to create distance, to say, I am having the thought that I am failing. That small reframing changed everything. It was no longer his defeat, but a passing notion, like a cloud, like smoke. If you do not fuel the fire, the smoke will vanish. This isn't about denying thoughts or forcing positivity. That's just another escape. It's about recognizing your mind generates thoughts, not all of which serve you. Many thoughts are mere echoes of the past, inherited fears, or unfiltered reactions. You are not those thoughts. You are the space in which they arise. You are the one who decides which to nurture and which to let pass. Stoic practice begins with this awareness. No need for distant retreats or endless meditation, just a few moments daily to pause and observe. When a thought stings, don't rush to react. Don't push it away. Don't cling to it. Simply watch it. Ask yourself, is this truly true? Do I have evidence? Does it strengthen or weaken me if it serves no purpose? Release it not with anger, but with calm. Like dropping a stone, you no longer need to carry. Bit by bit, you carve out space in your mind. In that space, something unshakable emerges: clarity, stillness, and resolute strength. This is no magic. It is discipline. It is returning to reality, to the platform, to yourself, time and again. The Stoics didn't aim to stop thoughts. They sought to tame them. They knew an unguided mind is a wild horse. It drags you to places you don't wish to go. But a disciplined mind becomes your ally, lighting the path ahead. Above all, it grants you freedom to walk that path. Next time the voice in your head says you can't, you're not enough, or it's too late, breathe deeply. Don't board that train. Stay with yourself. For thoughts don't define you. What you do with them is your true power: quiet, inner, unyielding. Second, the strength of speaking less. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul grows stronger when it needs no defense." Some silences unsettle, others command respect. In a world where quick words are mistaken for wit and noise drowns truth, choosing to speak less is an act of defiance, not against others, but against your own ego, which craves the last word. It yearns to retort, to be heard. But you're not here to prove anything. You're here to master yourself. In our office meetings, one man stood apart, not for rudeness, but for his difference. He spoke little unless necessary. He listened, he observed, and when he finally spoke, each word felt carved in stone, not for its volume, but for its precision. He didn't argue. He didn't justify himself. He spoke only when he had something of value to offer. That made him unforgettable. The Stoics saw this as a virtue. A wise man doesn't speak from habit, but from choice. He doesn't dive into wordy battles, knowing some victories come only by staying out. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul grows mighty by staying calm amid the world's clamor. That's the challenge: holding your ground when others shout, provoke, or demand a response. Speaking less isn't born of fear, but of discernment, knowing when to speak and when to hold silence. It's understanding that not every blow needs a counter. Not every taunt needs a reply. Not every moment needs an explanation. When you respond to everything, you give your energy to the world. You scatter yourself. You become unraveled. But when you choose silence with intent, you sharpen your mind. You become a man who acts, not reacts. A man driven by purpose, not emotion. The Stoics didn't live to please others. They lived for virtue. And part of that virtue is saying no more than needed. Like a warrior weighing each strike. For a careless word can cut deeper than you intend, while a well-timed silence can disarm a storm. Recall the last time you spoke in haste, perhaps a sharp retort, a defensive jab, or an unneeded opinion. Was it worth it, or did it leave only regret? Silence, on the other hand, never betrays you. Silence grants you time. It sharpens your perspective. It restores your control. Speaking less makes you more present, compelling you to listen, truly listen, not to counter, not to win, but to understand. And something remarkable happens. Others lower their guard, sensing your focus, and you, too, are transformed. Speaking sparingly clears your thoughts. Your words cease to be reactions and become choices. Epictetus taught that we must master emotions before mastering speech. No freedom is greater than needing no justification. That liberty lies in your breath, your gaze, the calm you hold when you choose silence over a cutting argument. Speaking less is not just style, it's philosophy. It reminds you that control begins with the tongue. True respect isn't demanded, it's earned. In a noisy world, the man who masters silence becomes a presence that needs no introduction. When you feel the urge to retort, pause, breathe, and ask, is this necessary? Is it useful? Does it reflect the man I aim to be? If not, stay silent. For sometimes the greatest strength is saying nothing at all. In that quiet space, you grow stronger, wiser, truer. Third, control what you can. At times, the world seems arrayed against you. Plans crumble. Loved ones disappoint. Opportunities slip away. The past stings. The future looms heavy. Amid the chaos, one question cuts through. What now? Most seek someone to blame. Others surrender. But a rare man turns inward. He knows the only power no one can steal is the choice of how to respond. You cannot choose the cards life deals, but you can decide how to play them. Epictetus called this the dichotomy of control, a simple yet relentless principle. It places the burden of your mind on your shoulders, not what happens, but how you let it affect you. You cannot stop others from letting you down, but you can choose not to let disappointment consume you. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can refuse to let it define you. The moment you stop wrestling with what cannot change and seize what can, you reclaim your power. Picture a ship on a stormy sea. The captain doesn't control the wind or waves, but he steers the rudder, adjusts the sails, and decides to press on. A Stoic man lives like that captain. He doesn't pretend the storm isn't real or delude himself with false hopes. He asks, where is my true strength? And from there, he acts. He decides. He builds. I once spoke with a man who lost his business after 20 years. He said, the hardest part wasn't the money. It was the sense of powerlessness, watching his identity collapse with each unpaid bill. For months, he was trapped in anger and blame, fixated on what couldn't be fixed. Then he stopped. He took a notebook and drew 2 columns, one for what he couldn't control, one for what he could: his habits, his mindset, his discipline, his will to begin again. From that day, he not only rebuilt his business, but forged an inner peace. Clarity gave him strength, and focus made him unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of an empire, knew not everything was in his grasp. He wrote to remind himself that happiness stems not from the world, but from the quality of your thoughts. An emperor could command armies, but not fate. His true power lay in his response, never whining, never yielding, staying true to his core when the world spun beyond his reach. Controlling what you can doesn't mean perfecting everything. It means gripping the helm, no matter the storm. When chaos strikes, you choose what holds firm within you: calm, purpose, deliberate action. Live from your center, not from fleeting emotions. If you feel adrift, pause, breathe deeply, examine what you're trying to control, and release what isn't yours. Then channel your energy into what you can change, however small, for when you choose where to place your strength, every action grows sharper, more resolute, truly yours. That's what keeps a man standing when the world falls apart. Not luck, not circumstance, but the steadfast choice to return to what matters. That's where true transformation begins, not in some distant place, not tomorrow, but now, in the thoughts you choose, the way you respond, the man you decide to become when no one else can interfere. Perhaps you've felt this: a conversation lingers, replaying in your mind for days. A mistake from months ago keeps you awake. Someone's hurt lingers. Though they're long gone, it's not the past that binds you, it's that you keep nurturing it in your mind. You're trapped in that moment, that thought, looping like a broken record. Without realizing, you turn your mind into a prison. Yet you hold the key. You're not condemned forever. For thoughts aren't a death sentence, they're a choice. This isn't about denying the past or pretending all is well. It's about redirecting your focus to what builds you. What makes you stronger? A man who dwells on the past cannot advance, no matter how fast he runs. Your effort means little if your mind clings to what can't be changed. But when you turn toward the light, something within you opens. It's not loud, not instant, but it unfolds. That's the start of true growth. Marcus Aurelius. Amidst war, betrayal, and illness, wrote in quiet nights that the soul strengthens by focusing on what's essential, what life demands of you today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today, for the present. Flawed as it may be, is the only place you can act. Your attention bridges who you are and who you can become. Each time you catch your mind wandering and pull it back to now, you train an unseen muscle called self-discipline. Consider any day of your life. Thousands of thoughts pass through, some fleeting, some heavy, yet only a few shape your actions. Only a few drain your strength. The key isn't to stop them, but to cease fueling them. To do this, return to yourself. Return to your breath, your body, what truly matters. Someone once commented on a Stoic video I watched, "Every time I start moving forward, my mind drags me back to old memories, to those who hurt me, and I lose hours as if it's still happening." I understand. We've all been there. But the answer isn't to flee those thoughts. It's to face them, acknowledge them, then resolve not to let them claim more of your day, even for 1 hour. Direct your energy toward what pushes you forward. The Stoics didn't urge you to bottle emotions. They urged transformation. Use those feelings as a fulcrum, revealing what you must release. Transformation begins with a quiet choice where you place your attention each time you choose to focus on virtue, learning, discipline, or building. You declare to the world and yourself, "I won't waste today on what cannot change." You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can decide which thoughts linger. That choice, day by day, shapes your character, your path, your strength. This strength doesn't boast, but it shines through your bearing, your actions, your choices, and the way you press on while others remain trapped in their storms. Focus is not a gift, it's a skill. Like any skill, it sharpens with practice. When your mind pulls you back to pain, the past, or chaos, don't fight it. Don't chase it. Breathe, acknowledge it, and return. For where you place your attention, there your life grows. Many wish the past held no pain, that everything unfolded as planned, but it doesn't. The more you wrestle with that reality, the more weary and wounded you become. It's not the burden that crushes you, it's how you carry it. Acceptance isn't surrender, nor is it passive endurance. It's ceasing to fight what has already happened. It's facing failure, mistakes, or betrayal, and resolving not to let them define you. You won't build yourself on what went wrong. Clinging to how things should have been binds you to illusion, but in acceptance, you breathe freely. From that new peace, you can chart a different course. A man once wrote to me, sharing how he spent years chasing his father's approval, striving to be the perfect son, the successful professional, the unyielding man. Yet it was never enough. When his father passed, the pain was crushing. But heavier still were the years spent seeking recognition, acceptance, and value. Then he read Epictetus and realized freedom begins when you stop seeking permission to be yourself. Living for others' approval is living in chains. However invisible, that day, he began speaking to himself with respect, not because his father granted it, but because he chose not to need it anymore. The Stoics taught that you cannot control how the world sees you, but you can shape how you see yourself. Each person filters reality through their own wounds, beliefs, and fears. When someone rejects you, it's not that you lack worth, it's that they cannot see it. But you can. You must. For if you don't, no one else will. Acceptance also means releasing guilt. The inner voice that insists you should have done differently, avoided pain, or held on to what's gone. It lies. The past cannot be rewritten. It can only be understood and used as raw material to build anew. When you accept what's done, you begin again, not from nothing, but from wisdom. Resilience isn't just enduring, it's learning. It's growing from each fall, not with anger, but with clear purpose, not in haste, but with direction. For every blow that doesn't break you reveals who you truly are. It shows what you can hold and what you can release. Yes, loneliness is part of this path. When you stop living for others' approval, some will drift away. You no longer fit their mold. You're not easily swayed. But that's your freedom. Being alone with your true self is better than being surrounded, yet disconnected from who you are. So, when life veers off course, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What can I do with what I have now?" Don't wait for a perfect world to start living live now. With who you are, with what you know today. Each time you do, you'll feel the shift within, not loud, not showy, but profound. Sixth, embrace silence to find clarity. There's a noise you don't hear, yet it wears you down, not from streets, phones, or others, but from within. A mind overloaded, chasing everything, trying to fix, solve, react. We're surrounded by demands, opinions, comparisons, pressures to do more. No more. Be more. In that storm, you don't lose time, you lose direction. Without silence, all becomes chaos. When everything feels equal, nothing truly matters. But silence isn't emptiness, it's a sanctuary. It's the only place you can hear what you truly think, feel, and desire. You may be walking a path not of your choosing, chasing goals that aren't yours, running after winds that don't fulfill you because you've never paused to ask if they're truly yours. Silence forces you to confront this, not with force, but with clarity. For when the world quiets, what remains is the real you. A man who watched my videos daily once shared that he filled every moment with tasks. He couldn't bear 10 minutes of stillness. It made him feel worthless. But one day, in a moment of panic, he forced himself to sit quietly. No music, no phone, no one else. 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, he wept not from sorrow, but from truth. He realized how long he'd been running, using noise to drown out what he needed to face. Now, he starts each morning in silence, not because it's easy, but because it's vital. In that stillness, he found answers no book or advice could give. The Stoics didn't shy from silence, they sought it. Marcus Aurelius wrote alone at night, not to boast, but to listen to himself, to order his mind before making choices that shaped an empire. He knew a noisy mind is not free, it's entangled in trivial chaos. Epictetus taught that the wise speak not from habit, but from necessity. What remains unspoken often speaks louder than any words. Silence reveals clarity. It shows what deserves your time and what is mere distraction. It unveils the real you, stripped of the world's gaze, exposing your habits, fears, and deepest desire. Yet, silence de mon courage, for it lays bare hard truths, confronting what you've avoided. There, transformation begins, not in comfort, but in the uneasy space where you stop fleeing. If you're lost, don't chase more noise. Seek stillness. Turn off the clamor. Be silent, not for lack of words, but to hear yourself first. You need to reconnect with what truly matters. It's not in the next goal or answer, it's in the quiet where everything pauses, and you meet yourself again. The world won't stop for you. New demands, news, voices will always arise, but you can choose not to heed them all. Create a sacred pause, a space where you are not what others expect, not a shadow, but your true self. Only the man who embraces silence truly hears, and only he who hears what matters lives with purpose. Silence isn't weakness, it's the mark of inner control, mental clarity, and true strength. 7th, speak less, think more. Most men falter not from what they don't say, but from words spilled without thought. A word born of anger, a careless opinion, a hasty reaction. These spark harm, often within. Each unmindful word pulls you further from yourself. In a world rushing to be heard, the man who chooses silence stands apart. Think of your mind as a blade. Each word is a strike. An unsharpened blade cuts you deeper than any foe. But learn when to strike, when to sheath, when to hone it in silence, and you become unshakable. Speaking less doesn't diminish your worth. It sharpens your focus, strengthens your control, deepens your wisdom. Not every thought needs a voice. Not every emotion needs expression. Not every comment deserves a reply. A man once reached out after a family argument, sparked by a trivial matter, but fueled by weeks of unspoken tension. He lost control, letting anger pour out in words that weren't his truth, just echoes of inner chaos he hadn't faced. Afterward, he felt hollow, so he set a rule: pause before responding, even for 2 seconds. That brief pause changed how he lived, giving him space to choose, to think, to answer with calm. The Stoics placed great weight on the power of the pause. Epictetus said, "We are not defeated by events. but by how we interpret them. That interpretation often forms before you speak. Mastering the moment between stimulus and response doesn't just win arguments, it shapes your character, your path, your energy. In moments of strain, silence can be your sharpest tool, not from lack of words, but from knowing not every battle merits your fire. In a heated exchange, a single pause can lend your words weight beyond any volume. Words spoken without haste, without fear, without need to triumph, carry far. Speaking with intent is an art, demanding practice, mindfulness, and courage to resist the clamor. Today, we're urged to react, to post, to opine, to prove ourselves. But restraint isn't suppression, it's choosing where your words arise from ego or from truth, from pain or from wisdom, from a need to be heard or from the freedom of needing no approval. This distinguishes the man who reacts from the man who stands firm. You can't always control your emotions, but you can master how they're expressed. You can learn to observe thoughts without letting them speak for you. You can train yourself to pause, to breathe, to wait for the right moment. For the man who masters his words doesn't just communicate better, he honors himself more. And the man who honors himself earns respect. Next time you're tempted to reply instantly, pause, not from weakness, but from strength, not from fear, but from focus. For speaking less isn't restraint, it's releasing what need not be said. In this age, that's a quiet power. Few master. You can be among them. True strength isn't in lifting heavier weights or shouting louder. It's forged in silence, in moments you choose to think before reacting, in days you focus on what you can control. Each time you speak with purpose or hold silence with wisdom, you embody 3 pillars that reshape a man. Think less, speak less, focus more. This isn't a distant ideal. It's a daily practice, a way of life built from every choice, every mindful breath, every thought you observe without letting it become your truth. When you see thoughts don't define you, silence is strength, and focus shapes your path. A shift occurs, not out there, but within. You stop needing to prove your worth to the world, for you carry it inside. You remind yourself that peace, discipline, and clarity aren't reserved for the fortunate. They're skills you build, hone, and guard. So start today. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Use what you have. Breathe, pause, choose, and if you falter, return to this video. Let each word here be a gentle nudge. Your mind doesn't rule you unless you allow it. Your voice doesn't lose value by staying silent. Focus is your mightiest tool. If this resonates, share in the comments. Where do you need more stillness? What will you let go? Your story could inspire another to reclaim himself.